What happened when you finally cut off that one difficult family member? My family staged an intervention for Uncle Frank after he showed up to Thanksgiving dinner wearing a hazmat suit and started scanning the mashed potatoes with a device he built from an old radio. We told him he had to stop breaking into our houses in the middle of the night to check for spy cameras, or we would have him arrested for trespassing. My mother was crying because he'd convinced the kids that tap water had mind control chemicals that the government put there to make people easier to control, and now they refused to bathe or brush their teeth. We told Uncle Frank he was no longer welcome at family gatherings unless he got mental help for his brain gremlins. He stood up slowly, looked directly at me, and announced that when society fell apart, we would all understand, but by then, it would be too late. Uncle Frank packed up his supplies and told us that if we wanted to live in ignorance while the world burned around us, he would respect our wishes and stop trying to save people who didn't want to be saved. 3 weeks later, my cousin nearly died making toast because Uncle Frank had been secretly cleaning our crumb trays monthly, claiming the government wanted house fires to happen so they could sell us smart homes with built-in surveillance. Those crumbs turned her toaster into a flamethrower that shot fire 3 feet across her kitchen. A month later, raccoons came through our chimney, and my dad lost an eye wrestling one. Uncle Frank would have kept them out with the metal grates he wanted to install to block what he called government spy animals. 6 weeks after that, my mother accidentally made mustard gas in our bathroom mixing cleaning supplies. Uncle Frank used to hide our chemicals and replace them with vinegar, saying corporations wanted to trick us into poisoning ourselves for population control. 2 months in, my grandmother poisoned herself eating yogurt that had expired over 3 months ago. Uncle Frank used to throw out all of our food way before the expiration dates because he said they were fake and designed to make us sick so Big Pharma could profit off of us. We all laughed at him for wasting food, but that yogurt sent my grandma to the emergency room, and she was in the hospital for a week. The complete disaster happened when a massive ice storm knocked out power to the entire region for 3 weeks. We got our generator running for exactly 2 hours before it died because nobody knew it needed oil, and the engine seized up. Uncle Frank had stockpiled hundreds of batteries because he believed the government would shut down the power grid to control us, and if we still had those batteries, we could have powered our lights and heaters. He had also stored months of canned food because he said grocery stores were part of a conspiracy to make us dependent. That food would have kept us fed when everything spoiled if he hadn't taken it with him. We all got violently sick from drinking melted snow that was 40% dog piss, but if Uncle Frank had been there, his water purification tablets, which he claimed removed government tracking nanobots, would have made the snow safe to drink. His pile of blankets lined with what he called alien reflection technology were actually emergency thermal blankets that would have kept us warm. Instead, my dad tried to burn our dining room chairs for warmth and almost burned the house down. We also tried to cook a can of soup by putting it directly in the fireplace, and it exploded like a grenade, covering the walls in tomato chunks. Meanwhile, our neighbors were doing totally fine because Uncle Frank had taught them all his crazy survival tricks that turned out to be helpful during a real emergency. They had stockpiled food and batteries because they figured it was better to be safe than sorry. They also hadn't thrown out the emergency kits with water purification tablets and thermal blankets that Uncle Frank had given them for Christmas the year before. After 2 weeks without heat or water, we looked like disaster movie extras while everyone else on our street was having generator-powered movie nights. Our family desperately drove on the icy roads to Uncle Frank's house and found him sitting comfortably in his warm living room. He had backup generators providing him with plenty of power and enough food and water stored to last 6 months. My mother begged him to come back and help us. Uncle Frank looked at us standing there with our blue lips shaking and said we had made it very clear that his help was unwanted craziness and he was just respecting our boundaries like we asked him to do. Without another word, he stood and quickly guided us back out the front door.